I get this question all the time. How am I supposed to lose weight or lose fat while eating so much fat on a ketogenic or carnivore diet? Let's go. Oh, my phone's dying. Damn it. Welcome, everyone, to my very awesome but very challenging life with moving from Hollywood to a country bumpkin town with now 9 horses and donkeys. I know. And a house built and my mom and all of that. And trying to do research and stay above the water. I get this question all the time. How am I supposed to drop body fat, because people are doing carnivore diets, to lose fat if you're eating fat? And I'm always surprised when I hear this because, well, I guess there are gurus out there still preaching a bunch of nonsense and tomfoolery. So what makes you actually lose weight if it's not the fat or gain weight? It's broken hormones. It's broken hormones that make you gain fat weight. And that's estrogen. That is your thyroid hormones and insulin. These are the main hormones that are problematic. Now, insulin is motivated by your blood sugar, so that's a whole nother subject. And now my air conditioning is kicked on to make this video even louder as my dog climbs up here on my bench, which I allowed him to do during the winter when the floor was too cold. I know I'm building a house. Patience, people. How do your hormones become broken? Like your thyroid hormones. So when your thyroid hormones, like you have a hard time producing T3 or converting T4 into T3, and this is thyroid's in your throat, all of that, you guys can look it up. But a lot of people have an underlying thyroid problem. I have a dog problem right now. A lot of people have an underlying thyroid problem and they don't know it until they drop out their carbs. Your body essentially becomes so used to eating carbohydrates that when you drop them out, your body's like, okay, I still need energy and I don't know how to make ketones. And so therefore, that puts a stress on your immune system, which often, and I mean very often, makes your thyroid hormones, the ability to make T3 and absorb it, go down the toilet. I know I have a dog's head in my video, but that's okay because I have so little time. This is what we got. So, stress, poor diet, not getting the right nutrients for the thyroid, which is like vitamin D and vitamin C, which you would get in things like oysters or liver on a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet. Your gut not being able to absorb your nutrients is really problematic because you need vitamin D to make thyroid hormone T3, and you need vitamin C to get it into the cell. So if you're not eating plants, for example, on a carnivore diet, then you would need to eat liver or oysters because they have an ample amount of vitamin C. Of course, iodine and selenium, because we're not by the coast anymore eating non-poison fish. So people have iodine, same thing with having leaky gut, iodine and selenium deficiencies, which then those are the minerals that you need to even make the thyroid hormone, and then you need rest and all of that. We're not playing. We're not playing. I gotta kick him down. I'm like, somebody help me, please. With that said, when the thyroid is not functioning properly, or you're not able to make the hormone or absorb it, the thyroid is the organ that's gonna regulate your temperature, hair growth, energy, fat loss, fat gain. So if that's off and you have an underlying thyroid condition, and then you do a keto or carnivore diet and drop out your carbs and don't adapt, it gets worse. You start gaining more weight. I know, it's kind of complicated. But the other things are, of course, your adrenals, which are connected to DHEA and also cortisol. So people start developing issues with pregnenolone steal, where cortisol is robbing from your body's ability, pregnenolone, which is precursor to DHEA, which is a precursor to making your reproductive hormones, which then testosterone and estradiol and your sex hormones being in balance is what actually helps you burn fat on any diet. But the problem is that, again, a lot of women have estrogen dominance. People are exposed to too many plastics and chemicals and stress and poor sleep and blood sugar dysregulation. All these things mess with your sex hormones 100%. And with that said, your sex hormones go down the toilet. You're not, no diet is going to have you drop a bunch of body fat. Like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because if you're producing too much estrogen is going to signal the body to store more fat within the fat cells become very inefficient at converting fat back into glucose or back into ketones. I know. So it's about the broken hormones that are making you gain weight on these diets, and not the diet themselves. That is why fat does not make you fat. See, because if your thyroid's busted and your reproductive hormones and your premenopausal, you're going through menopause, and your estrogen is dominant and your blood sugar is skyrocketing, your thyroid hormones are whacked, you're not going to get lean, you're not going to get fit, you're going to have chronic fatigue, and you're not going to be able to sleep well, and the gut is not going to heal, because people do these low carb diets to fix their leaking gut. But what you have to consider is getting your body in balance by doing 5,000 things, which most people don't have the bandwidth to be patient to do all those things that you would need. They want shortcuts, so they're tired and they'll drink coffee, and that coffee is going to jack their blood sugar, and then it's going to jack their adrenal, the HPA axis, which is connected to your thyroid, and things are just going to slow down, and then you're not going to sleep well, and everything's going to slow down. And here you are eating salads and you're not dropping the weight. You think that fat is making you fat? My people, it is way more complicated than that. So what does fat do? Fat is amazing. Fat's good for the brain, and fat is good for cholesterol, and fat is good for your lungs and every cell lining in the body. It's amazing for your reproductive hormones, because you need cholesterol to make the dang hormones. So why are people doing these carnivore diets where they're eating lean meat to drop weight, when it's not about the meat or the fat? It's about how your body digests the fat and uses that fat for ketones, and then of course your hormones. Most people doing these diets are not in ketosis. They don't eat enough fat. They eat a bunch of meat with fat on it. Now their body's going to spike the blood sugar because they're having too much protein, which becomes reconverted back into glucose, and that negates the ability to make ketones with that ground beef, because you're having a lot of meat with the fat. No, you need to have more fat and moderate to low protein, because protein that is not utilized is reconverted back into glucose, and it blocks your keto adaptation and messes up with your hormones, and then fat gets swooped up in the blood with insulin, because glucose is the driver, because all that protein is spiking your blood sugar. And now when insulin is secreted and it's resistant, it's going to scoop everything in the blood and shove it in your fat cells, because you don't have enough GLUT4 receptors, because you're tired, you have chronic fatigue, the thyroid's blocked up, you have too much estrone. These are the things that are making you fat, not the fat. When people did a ketogenic diet, they're like, well, how am I supposed to gain weight? Because there are people that need to gain weight if being in ketosis makes you lose weight. And it's like, whomever is teaching this tomfoolery, it just makes no sense. Yes, if you can access inefficient fat cells and you can get into ketosis, you're going to get the fat that is the restaurant, which I used to do in old videos, of your belly. Yes. So how am I able to eat such high fat and then not get fat? Because I'm using the fat that I eat and training my body to burn ketones out of my own body fat while I sleep. So first it's going to be the dietary fat, and my body's going to develop the enzymes, and I have the gallbladder, and the liver is going to convert that fat into ketone bodies. My body's going to use it as energy, which now, since I have this reserve of energy, my metabolism doesn't need to slow down. which then I can go ahead and burn that fat and keep the muscle on no HRTs at 58. Okay? Fat's getting into the dermis layers of your skin, and people are trying to do high protein, but the protein cannot be used as energy. It can't be stored as glycogen. So the body just starts to raise the blood sugar, and then there goes that insulin, and then insulin gets tired, and it doesn't put it in the muscle to be used. It just stores it as fat. So here is protein making you fat. Too much protein, and not the fat itself. The calories are irrelevant. It's what your body does with the calories. And that's why you need hormones. And of course, you need good digestion, and you need a good gallbladder. So if you want a part 2, if you want to know more, comment below. Do you have this problem gaining weight? That first you lost weight? I thought that fasting and doing a carnivore diet would help me lose weight. No, they're not weight loss things, my people. You got to fix your hormones. And if you freak out your adrenal system, you ain't losing no weight, you're losing muscle. You're losing water. You're not losing that much fat. So stop talking about losing 40 pounds, because you lost your metabolism when you did that. And that's what happened with the Atkins diet and the cabbage soup diet and the HCG diet. If people start lowering their calories and getting rid of fat, and all of a sudden the hormones freak out, they go into premenopause or andropause, and they can't lose weight as they get older without losing the muscle. And we want to keep our muscle, because the muscle makes you young. Comment below. Share this content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And if you guys feel like you need help, I do run a course where it's month to month. It's $15 a month, and it's a subscription. You can sign up through stephanieperson.com, or you can book a consultation. And I have meal plans, but they're all outdated. I'm about to launch all new ones that are updated, because science is ever evolving, and we're starting to understand our bodies more. So stop listening to gurus, and don't believe them when they're eating all that meat, except for Sean Baker. I think he's probably the only one that actually eats all that meat. That's what I think, if you've been around for a while. Energy. 57, and yo, hop skip from 58 and amount. Peace, because I got some business to do on this lovely day in Tennessee. Peace.